Ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ káàsán, ẹ káalẹ́. Mo kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọmọ aládé jákèjádò àgbáláyé. Èmi ọmọ yín náà ni àbúrò yín. Àrólé bàbá 1010, Olú Mike Ọbalọ́lá JP. Ajìjàǹgbara fún ìdásílẹ̀ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá. Ìránṣẹ́ Olódùmarè. Mo kí wa káàbọ̀ sí orí ètò wa ni. Ẹ gbà yíyẹ̀wò, ẹ bá wa dá sí. Orí ètò tá ti máa mú àwọn fídíò wá lọ́lọ́kanòjọ̀kan fún ìgbádùn yín àti pé kẹ́ ẹ tún lè máa mọ bó ṣe ń lọ lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà, ní pàtàkì lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation wa tá a jọ ń jà fún, wípé kí ìran wa kó kúrò lóko ẹrú, ká kúrò lọ́wọ́ bandit, ká kúrò lọ́wọ́ àwọn agbénipa, ká kúrò lọ́wọ́ àwọn olóògùn owó, ká kúrò lọ́wọ́ ìjọba mùjẹmùjẹ, ká bọ́ sí orílẹ̀-èdè tí ìrọ̀rùn àti ìgbádùn tó ti máa jẹ́ tiwa àti ìrandíran wa. Orí ètò yìí náà la wà láàárọ̀ yìí, tó bá wá jẹ́ pé ìgbà àkọ́kọ́ rèé tẹ́yin náà máa bá wa pàdé, tẹ́ máa rí wa, tẹ́ máa rí fídíò wa yìí. Ẹ subscribe sórí YouTube channel yìí kí ẹ̀yin náà lè máa mọ bó ṣe ń lọ, ní pàtàkì lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation wa tí mo sọ, tá a fi jọ máa kúrò lóko ẹrú. Orí ìkànnì yìí lẹ ti máa gbọ́ bó ṣe ń lọ, ibo ló dé, báwo la ṣe ń ṣe, báwo ló ṣe ń lọ. Orí ìkànnì yìí lẹ ti máa gbọ́. Ẹ subscribe, kẹ́dẹ̀ bá wa share, kẹ́ bá wa máa love àwọn ètò wa bí ẹ ṣe wá ń ṣe é. Ọba mi Èdùmàrè á bá mi máa bùkún yín. Ọwọ́ tẹ́ fi ń tẹ subscribe button àti ilé tẹ́ fi ń share àwọn ètò wa, ẹ ní fi gbọ́mọ sí. Ọwọ́ náà lẹ fi máa di flag Yorùbá nation mú, tájọ fi máa jó, tájọ fi máa yọ̀ lágbára dẹ́dà ṣẹ̀dá. Ohun rere tí ẹ ń béèrè fún, ọwọ́ náà lẹ fi máa gbà ó. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́. Ẹ̀yin ènìyàn mi, ó ní fídíò kan tí mo mú wá fún yín, tí mo tún fẹ́ jẹ́ kí ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ gbà yẹ̀wò, kẹ́yin náà bá wa dá sí. Ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ mi, ǹjẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ wípé Ọmọyẹlé Sowore, ǹjẹ́ ẹ mọ̀ pé òun náà ti ń fojú rí bí gbogbo ẹ̀ ṣe ń lọ báyìí, wípé orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà ò lè wọ́ọ̀kì mọ́. Inú fídíò ilẹ̀ ti máa gbọ́. Ọmọyẹlé Sowore tún sọ̀rọ̀ ìdí tí Ìgbò lè fi di ààrẹ, ìyẹn tí Nàìjíríà bá ṣe ń jẹ́ Nàìjíríà ni o. Ìdí tí Ìgbò lè fi di president orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà, Ọmọyẹlé Sowore tú àṣírí ẹ̀ o. In fact, àṣírí pọ̀ tí Ọmọyẹlé Sowore tú nínú fídíò yìí. Màá fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ farabalẹ̀ dáadáa, kẹ́ ẹ wo fídíò yìí, kẹ́yin náà lè mọ̀ pé bí èmi àti yín ṣe ń jà lójoojúmọ́ wípé orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà kì í ṣara ẹ̀ mọ́. Orílẹ̀-èdè tí wọ́n ti ń ta orí èèyàn ní 50,000 kíni, ní 5,000, tí wọ́n ti fẹ́ pa gbogbo àwọn obìnrin wa tán, tí wọ́n ti fẹ́ pa gbogbo àwọn ọ̀dọ́, tí gbogbo àwọn ènìyàn ló ń jápa ní ìlú yẹn. Gbogbo ológo ọmọ òkè òkun náà ti lọ ń lògo wọn, wọn ò lè lò ó ní ilẹ̀ bàbá wọn mọ́. Ẹ̀yin ènìyàn mi, Ọmọyẹlé Sowore òun náà ti ń sọ̀jọ́. Ó dà pé ó ti rí bó ṣe lọ, ó ti rí bó ṣe lọ. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ farabalẹ̀ dáadáa, ẹ wo fídíò yìí from láti ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ dópin, torí pé ìtajọ ń jà fún àdúrà tajọ ń gbà òun náà nìyẹn. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ dáadáa ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Tẹ́ bá wá wo fídíò yìí tán, ẹ jọ̀ọ́ gbogbo bá ṣe rí lọ́kàn yín bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ṣe rí, torí pé kọ́mẹ̀ntì yín gbà míì ó tún máa ń boost moral mi. Tó bá dẹ̀ tún ní àwọn kankan míì tó tún yẹ ká ṣe, mo tún máa ń rí lábẹ́ comment section yín, nínú comment section mo máa ń rí ńbẹ̀. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀, ẹ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Ẹ farabalẹ̀ jàre, ẹ gbà fídíò yìí.
I never thought I would live to become 30 years old. Yes. When I was leaving the University of Lagos, death was hanging all over me. So in 2019, all those young people that you saw who were saying that they want to know, they were all working for the same master. And when I saw through it,
wow.
I didn't waste my time. Where's Fela Dorotoye? APC. He's a special assistant to advisor to Tinubu. They don't appoint you as a special advisor overnight. You don't get what you they do for them.
When they special.
Kingsley Moghalu, Nigeria has an Igbo problem. And I'm not saying it to please people who are known as Igbos. There is a secret memo in government that whenever we want to take charge in this country, be careful of the Igbo. Don't give them position. Don't give them opportunity. Otherwise, they will overrun. It's a well-known fact. For an Igbo man to survive in Nigeria, as it is currently put together, Nigeria must break.
Wait, the meeting you had with Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
You are telling us now that Nnamdi Kanu,
the DSS headquarters. Yes, is it the same DSS people who are watching BB Nigeria from morning to night?
no, it's true now.
Don't you know what happened, the cop program in this country, where people were slaughtered and their bodies and their heads placed inside the train going down south? Where they were slaughtering them and sending their bodies and their heads inside Calabash and sending on trains that was heading east.
Were they Easterners?
They were Easterners. Yes. Before you discovered Peter Obi, I was already running for president. So it was in 1993. I was about 21 years old.
Wow.
And the military had
21.
Yes. The military had just annulled the June 12th election, Babangida, and we started protesting immediately. But while the protest was going on, we had concerns about whether Abiola was strong enough
to fight
the battle that we were ready for, battle of our lives. Because at that particular year was the year I was supposed to graduate from university.
Okay.
1993. So one day, we drove directly to his house in the student union bus and walked into his parlor. We asked that we should be allowed to see him. So we broke all the protocols, entered his parlor, and you know Abiola now, big man, big gates. And when we walked in, he said, who are these people? And I stepped forward and said, student union leader, I know you. Good job. I said, before you say any other thing, are you ready for this battle? Are you ready to die for Nigerians? He said, yes. And I said, secondly, because as we walked into the room, there were all these politicians sitting around, all of them clutching their bag because they
don't share money, give them.
Coming to collect money. And Abiola had a big duffel bag of cash beside him. And he was talking. They were all bragging inside there. I said, all these people that you see, we know them. These people don't believe in your mandate and they will abandon you.
Wow.
So focus now on how to fight this battle. You know, he's a person who doesn't like that kind of controversy. So he quickly reached out to his duffel bag, started counting money, 800,000 naira. Drop on our side. Say, student union leaders, transportation. I said, Chief, forget transportation. Which transportation? Go carry me from Unilag. Come here for 800,000.
1993.
Say, we are not taking your money. Say, no. I've never given money to anybody before and they rejected. I said, you are meant to first people. Because that day I was wearing slippers and I was wearing my only Ankara, my Christmas dress. And when he saw that the politicians were not happy and I was very firm. And Chief Anthony Anahoro was also there. And Anahoro was saying, this young boy is right, Chief. So he quickly stood up and in an attempt to just solve the tension in the room, escorted us out. As we were heading out, John Momo, who is now the owner of Channels Television, was his own only reporter at that time and his cameraman. This is the story of Channels. So John Momo has been waiting outside to try to interview him. He just approached him, Chief, this is John Momo, Channels. Before he could say it, he started addressing him and that was how I stood firmly behind him that day. Just again to assure him that we will be behind him for as long as he too stand firmly on his mandate. So that was the history of that picture and also a video of me behind him. And you could see that I was looking very angry, you know, but very firm. And turns out it was the first and the last time I met him in person. Because during our time as the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS at that time, NANS today of blessed memory, we did not support the transition program of the military. So we did not support Babangida because we didn't believe that he would hand over power. But the moment the election was held, and it was a peaceful and credible election to the best of our knowledge, we decided that we'll support them shooting themselves in the foot. So that was what took us to that space on that day. In fact, I never knew that this footage existed until 2018 because the guy who was working at Vanguard, Tunji Oyelero, is the photographer, had the photo. He saw me and said, I took a picture of you and Abiola. That was after Abiola had been arrested. And he never gave it to me until he died. So I just woke up one day and somebody sent me this photo, this video of John Momo interviewing Abiola and me. I think there was also an interview I did, but I never got to saw that. I mean, get to see that because I also did want the military to leave power, and you would think that we're bigger than who we were, but we're actually mightier because of our ideas and our focus and courage as young people. And like I said, this was when I was 21 years old. But I didn't get to graduate in 1993. I didn't graduate until 1995 because I was expelled that year.
Why?
Because of the election?
Why?
Yes, we were expelled. I was expelled twice. I was expelled first in 1992 when we did the protest known as Babangida Moscow, which was trying to force Babangida's hand to hand over power. So they expelled all the student leaders who were involved. Were 47 at the University of Lagos. And also in 1994, as we continued the struggle, I was also expelled again. So I did not leave the University of Lagos until 1995 officially.
When you were expelled,
Yes.
was your dad still around?
It was. That's very interesting. So and this is how to understand the way Nigeria works. This country has been designed to be oppressive and sneakily so. When I was expelled the first time, we were on holiday and I was at my uncle's place. He works at Central Bank in Festac, when Festac used to be.
When Festac be Festac,
A little
not
bit.
be now.
And they did not send me the letter of expulsion. They sent it to our village. They sent somebody from the University of Lagos to take the letter of expulsion to my village.
To Ondo State.
When I was admitted, they did not send my admission letter to Lagos, to my village. They sent it to Ota, where I was living. In fact, I almost missed my admission because they just sent it by mail. But this one, they had somebody. And don't forget at this time, to get to my village, you have to take a vehicle to a place called Okitipupa or Ibokoda. You now take a boat for an hour to Igbekebo, and you then take Okada, what you know as Okada now, which they used to call it Mejamelo in our area. Then you get to be on a canoe to get to my village. They took it there in one day. And my father saw the letter, of course, because I was sent to school by the community. My father was heartbroken. So he got on the next available bus to Lagos, came to see me, came to my uncle's house and showed my uncle that I was expelled. My uncle, thinking that I was not the person that was expelled, denied. He said, this is a mistake. Of course, I knew why I was expelled. So when I walked in the evening, because I was on vacation, and it was a school break, and I was working at a place called Rank Zeros in those days.
Photocopy and all those
Yes, they were selling photocopiers. And when I walked in, my father didn't greet me, and I immediately knew what had happened. And my uncle was like, when you finish it, we would like to see you. So they showed me the expulsion letter, and I initially denied. I said it was a mix-up. So the next day, I took my father to the University of Lagos. And at that time, police was looking for me and went to see the dean. And the dean asked where I was. My father said, I'm outside. He said, you better take your son and run because they are looking for him as one of the people planning to overthrow the government. That was my first expulsion. It was a period that Beko, Gani, Olusegun Mayegun was not president then, and Falano were arrested because of the protests.
This Falano right now,
Yes,
Faz's father.
Faz's father. And they were arrested and taken to Kuje Magistrate Court in Abuja and charged for treason for trying to overthrow the Babangida regime. So we were the co-conspirators, the accessories to that crime that they were looking for. So the dean is like, please run. So that was my first expulsion. And that was my father's experience. So now way back from the University of Lagos, my father saw that I was trying to run for the president of the student union. And he saw my posters and he said, I'm sure this is the reason why you were expelled. Because my poster awareness was that when circumstances are beyond the ordinary, only the extraordinary stands. And my father said, how could you call yourself extraordinary and not attract expulsion during a politically charged period like this? Of course, it was beyond that. I was one of the engineers of the protest, even though I was one of the youngest and the smallest on campus in those days.
So, just detailing this story, it's interesting because when we discuss young people in Nigeria today, there's a weight of expectation. And it is good that you have shared your story. And this is indicative of the fact that when people speak of young people, it's not like, the young people today are any different from the young people,
Not at all.
from the past. And it was even worse off them because, it was you and other young people standing up to military dictatorship.
Absolutely.
For people who are conversant with history, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida was described as Maradona because he said to know how to dribble. He go
entire country, yes.
He go they tell you sorry for front, but now they do you the thing for back. But
He was also deadly because he was the one who killed Vatsa and the coup plot. It was a period they were dropping military officers from the sky. Yes, there was a major air crash that ruined the entire middle cadre military at that time. So it was the period that Charlie Boy sang 1990, which was how I got to know Charlie Boy, where he was singing against the continuous transition. Babangida kept doing transition program every day. He was the one who set up two parties. Then he brought new breeds and old breeds. He was dribbling everybody, but he was also very deadly. It was a time that a lot of people were also killed, assassinated, and that also drifted to the Abacha regime, which is another story.
So for a 21-year-old, what was the driving force? Because you had parents, you saw firsthand the experience, how your dad had to move from Ondo State to Lagos, the dean advising your dad to tell you to run.
Yes.
Imagine somebody telling my dad, tell your son to run because they are looking for him. What was the driving force? What was going through your mind?
I have always said it that I don't want to sound like a motivational speaker. I don't know what it is, but I know that I had experiences growing up. When we were in our village, we had police invasion when I was 10 years old. That I said to myself that night.
When you were 17?
When I was 10 years old in my village on Christmas Eve, some young people went and fought police in the marketplace because they used to come for extortion. So and it's the time that our Lagos guys come home.
Yes.
So to show that Lagos guys fit confront police, they go rough handle police. Police came in hundreds at night, raped, beat up everybody.
Raped?
Yes, this same Nigeria police now.
Wow.
And then arraigned some of the guys. Some of the guys never recovered till today. Some never returned to our village since 1980 because of that experience. And I saw my dad in the ceiling, a grown man sweating from, our ceiling wasn't POP, it's made of mats, sweating and, hiding from police. And our half brothers and sisters in the other house, because my dad had more than one wife, being dragged and my father not being able to save them. That was just like, why should this happen to a small village of less than 3,000 people? And that was, for me, the point that I turned and said, well, this is probably not the federal government of Nigeria, but the federal government of injustice. So that was, and this happens to kids a lot. They have traumatic experiences that they live with forever. Some have experiences that they also decide on their own that they will change when they have an opportunity to do so. So that I could relate with when I then came across the real oppression, the military guys who beat up people. Of course, we were around also in 83 when they used these people they call kill and go, the mobile police.
Yes.
Used to come around on behalf of the MPN and beat up people. So Nigeria has had a very long history of physical repression. And several people have experienced it before. We still do it today. But for me, it was that night that, while I was hiding away.
Seeing your father
I was
hiding in the ceiling.
Looking at my father unable. I said to myself, if I grow up and police comes to my house, I'm not going to hide in the ceiling. You understand? But I knew what my father was going through, who's going to save him? Because we were looking for all the men in the village. They weren't after the guys alone, but they were blaming the villagers for not preventing the resistance against this extortionist police that came. So that was for me the starting point. And I told the story several times because I know people in our family who also were traumatized by that till today, they're still alive, but I know what people went through, boys and girls. One of our brothers who experienced, even eventually went and joined the police, said, maybe if I get there,
I'll change things.
I'll change things. I don't know if he was able to do that.
You said, you mentioned the fact that he raped
Oh yeah. No, it's not only village that we experience that. Even when we're in the university and police will come and be used to eject students. Any students, it's just like that our female students don't say these things. You know, the first thing the Nigerian police does when there are plenty of women is to abuse them.
Wow.
It's the same thing our soldiers do. Because they just see everybody as easy target. And, they target people who are most vulnerable in these instances. So when we would come back from those long, period of school closures, our school closures were usually political in our time. Now it's ASU. But our own is when we fight the government, they'll close down the university. The traditional rulers will be begging, then they will reopen and they will ask you to bring your parents. My father stopped going to school with me to go and testify that I will be of good behavior, which is one of the requirements to resume back to school. He said, I'm not coming. After that first experience of what he saw, he said, look, I just wish you luck. Because I stopped him on the road and said, I don't know if you can fight for me, because he was already looking for people to go and beg. I said, I'm not going to beg these people. We have a strategy in place to fight back. That is where I first met Femi Falana. And he has been my lawyer since 1992.
Till now.
Yes, pro bono.
Oh wow.
Yes. So he was one of the first set of lawyers. It was him and Sebastian Broderick's and Ulisa Bakoba, Gani Fawani. They were the first set of lawyers who would go to court on our behalf and ask that our expulsion be reversed. But the judges in those days also do not act in the interest of justice, just as they don't do now. So we will have to have another plan in place that when they resume school, we'll go and start protest all over again. And when we start protest, they'll just recall us. And that's how the matter usually ends.
Because when I hear I was expelled the first time, for my mind, they expel you once, you don't go with that now.
Even suspension self this thing can be expulsion twice.
No, I was expelled twice. When I was finally graduating in 1985, the person who was our HOD told me that he has over 7 letters of warning. He said that I got to a point I can't even be giving you letters anymore. I don't know how to cope. Because the registrar is always writing letters. Even after they had expelled me. And whenever we'll come back, they will still do all kinds of letters to us, suspending, warning, asking us to come to have panels that they were holding sittings that they didn't even bother to invite us to. Because they have to report back to the military that they are handling us internally. While the military is also looking for ways to handle us externally. So I've not, for instance, told you about arrest.
The question I want to ask,
Yeah.
I mean, it might, I don't know. Do you think, because Osman Zara asked you that question before you now answered, do you think you're switching to, acting the way against government, against this one, was a trauma that you didn't deal with from seeing your father in the ceiling?
No, at all.
You didn't think so?
No. In fact, that trauma, if I wanted to react to it the way I should have, I would never have gone near activism.
True.
Yes.
Well,
Yes. My own way of responding to the trauma was a decision I made that night. But because I wasn't a direct, victim as such, I just witnessed things that are terrible. Because, beyond just what they did that night, they came back this next day, arrested some of those guys who they claimed were the assaulters of the police. And I remember on one occasion, a policeman hitting one of the guys and his teeth flying out of his mouth. So I've seen like the most brutal treatment of persons by Nigerian police. And I would admit that in some of those instances I felt traumatized. I still cringe at, like knowing that when I was a little child, somebody's tooth fell out. I've only seen people tooth fell out in accidents. But for a policeman to hit somebody and on the jaw and the teeth just fly out, I've not seen it ever since then again, But they still do it. I can tell you that I witnessed a lot of torture experience when I was arrested by police several times, because before I left Nigeria in 1999, I had been arrested 8 different times. Both by the police the DSS, particularly between police and DS, but mostly by the police. In Lagos, I saw the CPO of police recently, and I told him that I had been detained in every area in Lagos, from A to G and H. But now they said their formations have increased beyond that. It used to be alphabetical order. And the worst place that I was detained was Panti in Lagos. But there's a place they call Area F,
Yes.
that we used to call Area Finish in our time. Because the moment you walk into the place, the beating starts from the police into the cell. They used to have German cells.
German cell.
German cell is the place where you can either sit nor lie down. I've also been detained at SARS before, as of 1998, where we all had to be assembled like Shardin. And I apologize, but I want to use the words. It's called Fokalaja, where they will line you up on one side and then they will order us to sleep. And the next day, somebody has to come and remove you from each other. And most of the people in that cell at that time had bullet wounds,
Wow.
except us. That was when I was arrested at Nuga Games in 1998.
Wait, all this time when they arrest you.
Yes.
You know the reach time where you go tell yourself, say, Emi no otito. Let me just respect myself. Because it can't be like say, okay, today they go arrest you. Push, you go again. They arrest you, you go again. It can't be like say you get death wish.
Well, we are all made of different clothes and we have different convictions. And I think I picked up my own conviction very early in life that it will come with consequences. Maybe I would admit that I would not expect some of the consequences that I get, because you look at it and ask yourself, what did I do to warrant this kind of treatment? Like a police officer picking me up in 2021 and just saying, "Oh, this is Shore," and beating me to the point that my nose broke.
Just because of say
Yes,
he recognized you.
He just called his Oga in the night and said, Oga, I see Shore. It was a protest that some young people were doing. I was there and they arrested them. I was part of it because I was during the period I was restricted to Abuja. And he said, it's an SCP. He just called his Oga and said, Shore is here. And he started beating me. This is how I came about this nose. And this is 2021. So if you compare the first time I was beaten like a dog, which was 1992, and 2021, you'll be asking yourself, what kind of society am I?
I want to.
And he still had the audacity to come to court to testify against me.
I want to ask. You talked about trauma of when the police came to your house and your dad was up the roof, and you said that wasn't what made you actually go into, because Nidu asked whether that was what made you. I want to ask you, did you have an experience? What was the point that you got to, or what experience? What happened to you that made you say, you know what? Let's take Nigeria back, or let me even be president, or let me just do something. What did you experience? What happened to you?
I think, you can have conviction, but you also need consciousness. And mine was also meeting the likes of Femi Falana. Because when we arrived at the University of Lagos in 1989, the students of University of Lagos were some of the laziest when it comes to activities. In fact, they used to refer to Unilag as a coup for show. So if you didn't have a nice car, you didn't dress well, you're supposed to be talked away, because it was a school for children of the rich, connected and powerful. So we got admission on merit when merit was still part of the admission process. I don't think it exists anymore. So when we arrived, we were proud to be who we are, children of the poor who came to shake the world. So, but it wasn't that I was like an extraordinary person. The first time we came to school, there were people who wanted to go to shows. I actually wanted to go to a Shino Peters show instead of, but guy came and said, we have some activists on campus. So they used to have a group called the Thomas Shankara movement, TSM. And we opted to go to that. And it changed my life because then they broke down Nigeria's socio-political problems to us. Okay. They backed it up with, texts, experiences all over the world. And they talked about the revolution and the country could change. And, after that, I said to my friend, Shino Peter can wait. Yes. And there's a battle to be fought here. That was what veered me in that direction immediately. And then Femi Falana came to school one day. You know him. He was amazing. He just spoke at a rally while he was speaking, they were deflating his tires.
Wow.
And when he finished, we escorted him to leave the campus. I also had experience with Fela. Most people didn't know this. I used to go to Fela's house. We would need him to come to the student union show, because it was the way to show, as a student union leader in those days, the way to show your activism is top notch. Is to get Fela to perform during the Students' Week.
Okay.
We would also have the other people, but Fela was a target.
How did you get him to perform the first time?
Well, his brother Beko was a mentor.
Beko Ransome Kuti.
Beko Ransome Kuti was Fela's manager, Kalakuta Records. Most people don't know this. So we reached out to him, and our social secretary was also reaching out to him, and we paid him 40,000 naira to come to perform on campus.
What year was this again?
It was around 92. But Fela had certain conditions to perform on campus. First, the stage must be ready, and he would do like a pre-show rehearsal. So he came. We had put our student. He asked for about 4 vehicles, coaster buses. He didn't ask for any special, just coaster bus. Placed it there from 9 a.m. I went to see him. We talked, and he said, "Student leader, if I come for rehearsal, if you're not ready, I don't go come back home." So because we signed a contract with him, but we didn't look at it. We just signed. And what the contract said, by the time I'm just running up quickly, is that so he came. The stage was not ready, and he went back. When he was going back, the student said, "What are you talking about? We have paid you now. You're not going to come out." I said, "No, you are not going to keep Fela on this campus." And Fela was calm. Yeah, he sat at the last seat with his pillow. And he stood up and said, "Your people, they hold me." I said, "No." He said, "When the entire, not my fault now. Still, I'm not ready with the stage. And I have 27 women. So I will carry them, make them go fall through the stage." So I did this in France to the president of France. The teacher had a joke. That was how Fela went back. He did not perform. So we now called Beko in the night that this is not nice now. He said, "Have you looked at the contract?" We now rushed and looked at it. And it says there that even after meeting all these conditions, Fela is not under any obligation to play.
Wow.
After getting paid.
Yes. So we're like, we wish we knew. That was how he protected himself legally. Of course, he's always getting into trouble. But the interesting thing was that years later in New York, I was invited to come and play Fela. When they were doing
act as Fela?
Yes, when they were doing Fela on Broadway. Yeah. I had the mannerism, but I couldn't sing.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yes.
So sorry.
Including the bunch was also, they also did that stuff at that time. That's how I first met the bunch. But mine was first before. It was when it was pre-Broadway that that I did the rehearsal for it. Never made it, and then later when it was on Broadway, the bunch was there.
Who know? I didn't you sing now. Maybe you don't leave us for Nigeria. I was enter artist.
No. I was not hoping that. In fact, I was happy that it didn't
you couldn't sing
because it was a period that Sarah Reporters was taken off. So it would have interfered with it.
So speaking about Sarah Reporters, it's been a groundbreaking platform for exposing corruption and holding the government accountable. So how have you been able to ensure that Sarah Reporters stays independent and not unbiased? Yeah.
Well, so when it comes to media, one of the struggle that media owners go through is revenue. And the moment you protect the revenue side of things, you can stay independent if your objective is to be independent.
Yes.
So there are a lot of media platforms that are set up for anyhow reason. So first, what we did at Sahara was not to rely on advice from any government agency.
Okay.
Because adverts in Nigeria are used as a step in the door. In fact, I've had advertisers who will advertise and will not bring the contents they want to advertise. Yes, they will say, "No, we return their money back to them." Like, no, we don't. If you don't have something to advertise or you are not reading,
they will just pay you and go.
They don't want to, they won't give you, the
content.
The digital content they want to advertise, they won't send it to you. Sometimes they do it deliberately. They want to see but the moment you get involved in that, forget it. Then you have somehow entered into an agreement. Their real goal in that regard is to ensure that they can prevent you from writing things that may not be favorable to them. Or that after you have written, they can force you to take
Because
it down.
they've paid
They don't
you.
know.
Hate you. So we knew all along that that's what could happen. So we ensure that we don't take adverts from government. In the first place, the first question I asked myself when we're considering even going public with advertisement is, what does government in Nigeria have to advertise? Is it the bad roads or the bad schools? So we made sure that was protected, and then we limited ourselves to a compact platform where we didn't have like big staff because we know we cannot afford to pay them at the beginning. And then later on, of course, to protect it further, we were seeking support from foundations who had no interest in Nigeria to support the work. And so that was how Sahara grew and became unbiased. And we protected that. But it's a constant struggle because of the evolving nature of digital publishing
And also the economy, to
and
be
the
honest.
economic situation in the country or even outside the country. Because I remember at the point, Sarah was making up to $50,000 per month of Google ads. But all of that has more than disappeared because Google is spending less on ads that are not generating
Yes.
for that. And then Sarah was at that point the only most radical platform, go-to platform. But now, everybody, in fact, individual publishing has taken over from, what used to be, news publishing. Newspapers have died a natural death. They are now in the museum. If I look for a newspaper now, it's not because I want to read it. I just want to feel it.
Wow.
Yeah, because even the editor that is publishing a newspaper that is going to be printed tomorrow already read the news from
Online,
somewhere
yes,
else
now.
online. So, and there was a time that newspaper, I think Punch was, I think it was Daily Times. I think there was a time they said they were selling up to a million copies per day.
Wow.
All the newspapers in Nigeria today, if they sell up to 20,000 combined, they must have been rigging the figures. Yes. Because nobody's buying newspapers.
Yeah, nobody.
anymore.
Everybody's online these
Everybody's
days.
online. People are consuming digital content in different ways, online and offline, but still as digital content.
So, sir, how do you balance your activism and journalism together, especially when they are covering stories based on your political beliefs?
Well, I don't use my platform to promote my political beliefs. I use social media lightly. So because I can say whatever I want to say on social media without asking any newspaper to publish what I've said. In fact, most newspapers, news platforms, including Sahara, picks up from my Twitter page things I've said and said it's posted on his Twitter page. Do I occasionally ask them to cover my event? Of course I do. But I am also very conscious of the fact that you can abuse that platform and also make it lose public trust. If it becomes,
Myself.
your Shore did this, Shore just left toilet, he's going to the living room. I hated that and I didn't want Sarah to do that. So I started relating with Sarah the same way everybody else would relate with Sarah, but protecting the identity, which is to be an independent, unbiased platform for reporting news by citizens, a citizen reporting platform.
Some people will say you're fighting for a better cause and everything of the country, but your family is abroad.
Yeah.
They will say, why bring them back now? So that they can.
You see, there are arguments that are referred to as superfluous. They carry no content, they carry no basis and substance. There's nobody in this country who has been a leader who didn't fight at one time or the other, who they are children. Everybody knew about Sheyin Tinubu after his father became popular recently. I didn't know about him. Sheyi Tinubu did not participate in 2012 Occupy Nigeria. Buhari also did protest before in this country. His son, I knew about when he fell from Okada. I never knew Buhari had a son. I never asked for him. So, and the most important thing is that when I didn't have children, was I not protesting? Yes. In fact, I protested to a point that no female will come near me. Yes, I had a girlfriend who left and said, good luck to you. There's no way someone like you can live long. So there's no point getting... The mom was against me. It was one of the most heartbreaking experiences I had. It wasn't traumatic, by the way. But...
You then break your heart.
Yes. I have a heart. So. But she left me and said, it doesn't look like you have a future because We graduated the same year. She was going to NYC. I had no results. No, there was no. The mom just called her and said, "Look, this is this guy that you want to follow."
Naibuge.
No, it doesn't matter where she's from. She's a female, and she was a Nigerian.
No, but I don't imagine the mama. Ma talk how the mama
No,
talk.
so-
Naibuge
so-
they say,
So the thing is that thing is not even about the parents or the female you're dealing with or where they come from. Every parent protects
The
their
children,
kids.
yes.
But how
And their
about your
future.
wife's parents?
So my wife's parents, the person I'm married to, I met in the US.
Okay.
So she did not do her Google search very well before she got involved. She just came to me one day and said, "Oh, I met one of your friends. They graduated from the University of Lagos. They said you used to be stubborn." Oh. Yeah, so I was in the US now, but she used to call me refugee. They say, "You are a refugee." And I say, "I'm refugee." But inside my mind, I say, one day when you know who you marry.
Oh, she doesn't know now.
Wow.
She
Now she
knows. She
knows.
knows now.
It turns out that, she's actually more activist than I am. When
Yeah.
I got arrested,
She had a
she
protest.
was, I'm still upset with her that she appeared on more international news channels than myself. Because her only activism was getting me released. Me that have been doing it for all these years. They even talk to me.
Question I want to ask you
Yeah.
is, let's get into the crux, the full gist. Now, you got into, what was that thing that led you to want to become the president of Nigeria? And apart from the thing that led you to becoming the president of Nigeria, what were the things that you went through to even get to that point to say, okay, I want to become the president? And what were the things that you went through to the point where they even hold you, arrest you, and all those things?
Well, see, I have been a president before, but on a lower level.
SUG.
I was a student union government president of 27,000 students.
Yes.
And those 27,000 students are actually more difficult to govern than a state because they're intellectually sound. They ask questions. They want to know where you stay. We had to transparently be followed everywhere. We had a parliament, the questions, even 500 naira was not accounted for. These are things that people don't know about student union leaders in Nigeria of those days. I'm not talking about the ones now. So, but I was disillusioned with politics. Partisan politics. So we never joined any parties in the 90s. And by 1999, when I was about to leave Nigeria, elections were about to hold. When I saw the candidates that were showing, I just told myself, I said, we are back to where we are left. Because you see Obasanjo, who had just come out of detention, former military dictator, Olufalaye, who was the one who introduced structural adjustment program that caused this problem we're having now with Babangida. Then people don't know this now. So I just told myself. So we had a meeting at Chief Gani Fawehinmi's chambers. All the activists, they said, no, don't participate in the electoral process because you can't trust these people. I don't know if it was a wise decision. Yes. If we had participated then, I think Gani probably would have defeated Obasanjo in that election. He was widely popular in the country. The people didn't want the military anymore. They didn't want any one of them. So I just carried my things and left to go to the US. And that's how I left for good. And I went to school. I went and did my master's at an Ivy League school. Ivy League being one of the 10 best universities in the US. And do you know why I went to school? It was because the University of Lagos authorities kept saying that I'm a layabout. That's the reason I was doing student union, that I cannot cope academically. So I went to one of the best schools in the US to show to them that my problem was not academic preparedness, but the fact that I wanted a society that worked. So in 2003, I graduated. And then a few years later, we went and set up Sahara Reporters. I personally wrote over 5,000 corruption stories published on Sahara, personally. When I say personally, I'm the one who investigated, researched. A lot of people didn't know at the point that Sahara was just one laptop when it was most popular. Just one laptop, yes. I bought
That's Sahara where they give many politicians.
Wahala.
one laptop that I bought on eBay for $600. I still have it at home. So, but I had some guys who were helping me with editing. And so we're just publishing pictures, anything you wanted. But I got to a point as of 2012, 2014, and 2015 in particular, that I convinced myself that even the best journalists in the world cannot save Nigeria. If good people don't step up and govern the space. Why? Because after writing for almost 5 years, Sahara everywhere, the politicians started becoming immune to the stories. Yes, the more you did the stories, the more just say,
Then go right,
now
man.
my
Just keep quiet.
opponents, now in the do and some of the best stories were coming from them. Because if you write a story against a politician, he will say, "Oh, I know the guy who set it up." They will come go give you the story of the other side.
That person.
Now, story just the flow,
themselves in
left,
legs.
right, and center.
If you
know.
even set up, then go to say you know what
Yes,
you do.
so,
I don't know your kind of
and they didn't
person.
know who I was because I set up like a lot of anonymous emails. You could
Like
just-
Gist lover, you were the Gist lover
Yes,
of that
so
time.
that time. But some people knew who I was, but a lot of people didn't know who I. In fact, Femi Falana was surprised the day he found out
Are
that
you
I
serious?
was.
You're
Oh,
lying.
he no no.
You know, one day he just called me and said, "This is Harry Potter that everybody shout. They say you are the owner." I said, "I'm the one." I said, "What?" I have people who I went to see, my clients, who are having blood pressure over this your Sahara matter. I said, "Please keep it up." So he was giving me feedback, So that was the point I got to. I was like, what is it that you can write about these guys again? They don't care. And the more you wrote these stories about them, the more evidence you presented, the more they stole. Ultimately. So because Sahara Reporters now became an opportunity for mainstream media to make money. They will not write the original story. Their own is just to debunk. That's how they make their money.
Yes. So you will now serve them. Then
Yeah,
they'll come say, give us money.
Yes.
Come
They will
come
come,
put
or
this person
sometimes
right.
they will pick my stories because they're all on top of the story. They pick the stories,
run
republish
with
it. Sometimes they will not even credit Sahara. They will just see the headline: London house discovered. The people will rush to them. What's the problem now? Some of them will publish magazines and with stories that I did do, and then they will go and buy the entire magazine so that they are not in the market. So when I started hearing all the stories, I was like, I'm providing opportunities for people to become billionaires. I have no problem with it. But it's not advancing the cause for which I committed my life from my university
In the
days,
first place.
which is to bring about a society that works for
Change.
everybody. And the greatest journalism which I practice has not made that happen. That was what made me to decide around 2016 to come to Nigeria and set up a Sahara Reporters Media Foundation. But they were waiting for me. Set up I used to have an office beside where you have Cubana nightclub now, Isaac John.
In Abuja.
No, here in
Isaac
Nigeria.
John Ikeja.
Yes.
Isaac John.
Before I could finish setting the place up, one guy came and beat me up. Before I knew it, police had arrested me. I'm in the commissioner's office. Commissioner is like hollering at me. And I'm like, do we know each other before? It had all been set up. This guy is coming home with his brand of journalism. We go show him.
And this was in which year?
This was 2016, 2017.
But gist they go round to say Sahara Reporters and the person when get them follow for the people when bring Buhari through the reports when they attack former President
Sahara
Goodluck Ebele
Reporters
Jonathan.
was set up in 2006 February. Go and check. So by 2015, Sahara Reporters had been around for how many years?
9 years.
So how could the story of Sahara Reporters be the one that... You see, a lot of people who are going to watch this show or podcast never knew that I existed in 1993. And that's why they took history from our curriculum. So that even the little history that people should know about their people
Thoughts where they could
don't
connect, they
exist
would not know.
anymore. The last time history was written in this country was written about bad guys. And that's the only history that is still present. When I was reading history in primary school, on every Independence Day, they will make us line up to wait for the military guys who were stealing money. They will not even come. We will be there, rain, sunshine, we'll be singing, then nobody will show up. But when I got to the university, I had to fight against the same people in history who I was told made Nigeria great. So that's why they quietly removed history. So a lot of people don't care also about history anymore. But you see societies that are great don't mess with history. As much as they're interested in computer science, they're also very interested in
Where they're
coming from. Because
Who they are.
That will
who
help
they
you.
are. That will help you determine where you got it wrong and where you need to get it right. It will also help you to apportion blames and will help. It's not all history that is good, because the people who also always win write history. Yes. You are never going to get, for instance, the correct history of the Biafran War, because it was mostly written by the guys who won the war.
Yeah.
So you only have a few people on the side that fought who you can read their history. but you can't find it anymore. In this country, Ken Saro-Wiwa was killed. You know the first thing they did after they killed him? They removed his books from the literature curriculum in the schools in this country. I don't know if they've restored it now.
Talking about Biafra,
Yes.
you had a meeting
Yes.
with Nnamdi Kanu, and that sparked, in fact, I
New
think
York.
I think you got arrested after that
Yes.
meeting. People would say, you people are not fighting the same cause. You are fighting to be the president of the country. He is fighting to divide the country.
Yes.
People would say, why would you be seen in such a meeting? Would you like to clear that
You
air?
see, anybody that lacks any sense of consciousness would ignore social movements. That is the problem with Nigerian leadership. You cannot have a country in which there are 251 tribes or language, and one big section says, we are not satisfied with here, and you don't talk to them, you don't understand them. Then you are not a leader of that country. The reason I met him was to understand first what his struggle was about, which I knew already. And secondly, to also advise him on the way that I think we could all work together. And thirdly, to send a message to the Nigerian people that we can work through our differences, even at these levels. And I was surprised that, contrary to what some people are saying, he did not want Nigeria to break up. He wanted a Nigeria where the Igbo man can survive. But for an Igbo man to survive in Nigeria, as it is currently put together, Nigeria must break.
Wait, the meeting you had with Nnamdi Kanu,
Yes.
you are telling us now that Nnamdi Kanu, from what you understand from the
Yes,
meeting with him,
yes.
he does not want Nigeria to break, to divide.
No, he said clearly that it is too late for Nigeria to come together. But he gave his conditions. We live streamed the meeting now. It's online.
Okay.
And part of it was live streamed. Some of them were private. But he said that he feels that if Nigeria were to respect certain protocols, including a referendum inserted in the constitution, and he still says it even now in court, that if he's released, he will go back and end the bloodshedding. The bloodshedding is in that part, and that a conversation can. He says that in every court appearance, that he's being held is not helping the opportunity to have a conversation about whatever it is, the unity you are begging for. But you see, Nigeria has a problem, and I've always said Nigeria has an Igbo problem, and I'm not saying it to please people who are known as Igbos. But the moment they decided to take the action they took in 1967 to 1970, the war, Nigeria, having won that war in their eyes, never forgave the Igbos. That is the reality. And if I were to be president of Nigeria today, the first thing I would do is to head to the Southeast and apologize to them for the war. Part of it is that I've never participated in it, and I cannot continue to fight a war that I did not engage in. And then ask them, what do we want?
So are you saying that the federal government has even before
Successive
governments,
Yes.
they've always had this anger against the Igbos?
There is a secret memo, I don't know where it is located, in government, that whenever we want to take charge in this country, be careful of the Igbo. Don't give them position. Don't give them opportunity. Otherwise, they will overrun. It's a well-known fact. Even our parents
Wow.
tell us, Igbo. You understand? Some of them even say unconsciously. They even say it on radio shows in this country. So don't let us lie to ourselves, because except we bring this out openly and discuss, it's a taboo that we have refused to discuss.
True.
We are not going to solve the problem. It is the reason why the federal government of Nigeria feels that in 2024, detaining Nnamdi Kanu against all the court orders, against all the court rulings, is the only way to go. You know, I was detained in the DSS place for 5 months.
Yes.
There is nothing there to detain anybody. The place is not even functioning. The DSS headquarters. Yes, is it the same DSS people who are watching BB Nigeria from morning till night? No, it's true now. I was there with them for 5 months. I've said this publicly. So all the institutions in this country are broken down. But let's get back to the reality. One thing I told people is that you are looking at Igbos as the only people who want to secede. But who in this country today has not mentally seceded from Nigeria?
Mentally seceded.
Who has not left? Except those who are trapped. if anybody in this country is working in a bank and he has 10 million naira and somebody say you can get into Canada, he will leave the next day.
I swear.
Is that not secession? Is it what of secession is that you leave a country,
Yes.
you say to that country goodbye,
Bye.
And not do it
you
again.
get to the other country, you bow down, you touch the soil,
Anything they say, you go do am.
and then you renounce your citizenship of the country you are coming from. Is that not what they call secession? So if you want to look at the number of people that have seceded in that Japa syndrome, there are more than all the Igbos combined together who are asking to leave. And in the process of keeping Nigeria united, we have let go of more citizens than the country should have. Yes.
So you think if they had, because I mean, from the last thing you said now, you say in the process of trying to keep Nigeria united,
Yes.
we have let go of more citizens than we should have.
Of course.
So if we had allowed for the division or secession of Nigeria, most of our citizens that are outside would not have been outside.
No, you see, it is not the secession I'm talking about.
Okay, what are you talking about?
It is what led to
the
the war that we
Okay.
did not address.
Okay.
And what happened after the war. Why is it that Nigeria hasn't been able to overcome the Biafran problem? It's because Nigeria never addressed
The
what
root
the
cause.
Biafrans were asking for before the war.
What were they asking?
They were asking for to be treated not as second-class citizens in this country. Don't you know what happened, the called pogrom in this country, where people were slaughtered and their bodies and their heads placed inside the train going down south? Yes, from the north, from the mid, the different parts of the north. Are we ignoring that? So
That happened.
of
Before the
course,
war?
Before
Yes,
the war. That's what they call pogrom.
History.
People who were settled, doing well, they were slaughtering them and sending their bodies and their heads inside calabash and sending on trains that was heading east.
Were they Easterners?
They were Easterners.
Yes, no, Southeasterners.
Why are you asking me?
President is
It's
not
there
part
in,
of
go and
Nigeria.
Google it now. So you expect that will happen, and then there was a war that eviscerated 3 million people. Wow. And when the war was over, you just say, oh, nobody was vanquished, nobody was
No victor.
victorious. And then
3 hours.
but you still kept a memo and said, don't trust them.
Collect people money.
Yes.
Give them 20 pounds.
And then you took their properties. Ojukwu did not get back JAMB until 1992 now, his father's house, that is known as JAMB headquarters here in Ikoyi. It was after he came back from Ivory Coast. It was Babangida, I think, that gave him back their property. So any country that is perpetually carrying out systemic injustice against will lose more citizens than they should have. The reason why countries that are work is because citizens believe in their country. And you cannot force that belief. It has to come through social justice.
True.
It has to come through economic justice. Why is it that, my children can feel like they're US citizens, even though they were born there? It's because before they let you take them out of the hospital, they must take all their immunity
Everything.
injections. You cannot put them at home and not go back to the doctor to go and complete it. And when it's time for school, they cannot be out of school for 2 days. And you'll be saying that, no, I want Shikira to go and be selling pure water. He will go to jail. So, and then when it's time for them to go to college, there is loan, there is grant,
You are talking far. If you born them in the hospital, you cannot even go home with that child if they've not approved you to go home with the child.
Not only that, you cannot even
child,
throw your child up in the hospital the way we do it here. That we just start playing with your child. You can't. You're not allowed to just let your child fly in the air. They say you want to ruin their brain. When we were born, we see happens now. They will put hot water in your ass. They will be murmuring. They will be using hot, a rag to be pushing your head together. In the process, maybe that's where they shift some of our brains.
Now why no
Yeah.
correct?
So it is fundamental that we understand that what makes people feel like citizens is what their country has to offer to them. And then they in turn would offer something back to their country. Sometimes their life.
Yeah.
And it's a question people ask me, why would you have all this life and come back and be suffering here? I said to them, we are built differently. Some of us, this is how we've designed our convictions. There are some of us that even fight for country we have never been to before. I fight for Palestinians. I fight for South Africans. Why can't I fight for my own people? Nigerians. 200 million people on the largest continent on earth.
Still on the election. Still on the
Baba,
election.
wait, before election, no verse, before election.
No, based on the last thing that he said.
Okay.
Sorry, my brother.
No problem.
You said you fight for Palestinians, you fight for South Africans. Why can't you fight for Nigerians? I mean, maybe this question should be later end. But let me just bring it up before I forget. Do you ever regret fighting for Nigerians? Because there are some times that you go online, you see some things. Look at the people I'm fighting for. They are busy talking about Cruz. They are busy talking about who is fighting. They are busy talking about whiskey.
Some people say Zukwani.
Some people now say, Showore Zukwani.
Rest
You
now.
too rest in Jesus' name. Do you ever regret fighting for these people?
No. The only thing people must understand about fighting for people is that it's a thankless job.
It's a thankless job.
Yeah. If you expect something from it, you'll be very, very disappointed. And that's where the trauma comes from for people who sometimes will just get arrested by police one time and you never hear from them again. Because that period that you have expectation for people to rise and support you and they are not there, it traumatizes people a lot. I know what it is. It's really part of reasons why if I hear that somebody is suffering oppression, I intervene in the best possible way I can to get them out. Because it's a very slippery slope. But for me, I don't expect anything from anybody. I don't expect to be paid. I don't expect to be praised. If I was expecting something from people, when I wanted to start Sahara Reporters, I would have been putting pictures of rich people. It's the easiest way to get rich. Just go to their weddings,
For magazines,
put them there in the best, ask them to bend, and take nice pictures of them. That's not the way to offend people. But I took the route of offensive journalism. And that means you are fighting powerful people. And powerful people are very powerful in such a way that even some of the most reasonable people can be asked by powerful people to work against their own interests.
and
they will do it more than the people who are oppressing them. And that's what Nigeria has shown us. Some of the people who are most virulent in attacking people who are doing good themselves don't benefit anything. It's called programming.
True.
They've been programmed. That's their own default position to fight first and foremost the person who's for them, and lastly, if at all, the person who's against them.
Interesting.
Yes.
So my question is on activism
Yes.
and activists. Now, it's good that you have mentioned, and I'm sure that many young people can go on Google now and find out more information about some of the people that you have mentioned. Some of the people where maybe been talk say, who is this Baba is doing too much. Shebi una don't hear the story of Baba Femi Falana. So just do your own research.
Exactly.
People they went on, they do so many things.
Insult Falana.
And you have mentioned people like, Ganifa Wehimi, rest in peace, Anikula Pokuti, Beko Larry, so many people,
Sankara.
But I want to ask a question, because we have seen activists well celebrated now become something else. I don't want to use them when they're too strong, but I'll give an example.
Yes.
One of the most popular labor leaders in Nigeria or in Nigerian history is Comrade Adams Oshomole. Comrade Adams Oshomole, all we needed to hear was him say, we are going to shut down the country. And everyone would rally and do so. He contested on the platform of the Labour Party, won the elections, had his mandate stolen, went to court. I remember Okada riders accompanying him to court. In fact, police come begin the beg, say, if they come, make people don't follow him. Because they could feel that wave. He retrieved his mandate. The Supreme Court, returned the mandate. And then he switched political parties. Became the chairman of that same political party. And was even captured in a video footage saying, if you come to our party,
your sins are forgiven.
Now, as a young boy who grew up in Isolo area of Lagos and who sometimes had to wave
Nigerian flag.
No, green leaves. Because that time when
protest,
riot happened, people go put out for their windshield. Just thinking about it now and looking at the situation now, I begin to wonder, does activism have expiry
Let
date?
me intervene.
Thank you, sir.
And I will tell you, with benefit of experience and history, Oshiomhole was never an activist. You can go and check this out anyway. And I will send you, after this show, a press conference we did in 1992 or so, where Oshiomhole and a guy named Pascal Bafia, he was the former NLC president, had a deal with Babangida to increase fuel price and supported it.
In 1992?
Yes, I did a press conference where we named him as the enemy of students. because of what he did when they first started this whole fuel increase. Oshiomhole was part of it.
Wow.
Oshiomhole was never part of the pro-democracy movement. He was one of the few labor leaders during Abacha's time who was living in Abuja when all the activists had run away from this country. And I've said this several times. What Oshiomhole was doing at the period you are describing is what we call organized outrage. You go and meet Obasanjo, Baba, increase the fuel price, we will fight small. You will come put them back to the place where it's supposed to be. You are happy, I'm happy. That was what Oshiomhole was doing. And I've said this openly, but since you have greater reach, he can challenge me that I said, and I will send you a copy of the press release and press conference, not even press.
The conference
We
itself.
we sat at the press conference, invited the press, because that's how we communicated during our days. We did a lot of
Yes.
world press conferences, and we went after them. In fact, when Abiola's election was annulled, part of the places the students invaded was the NLC secretariat at Yaba, because they were in bed with the military, Pascal Bafiao, and Oshiomhole them. They were the labor leader. He didn't start today, this Oshiomhole you are saying. He has been doing labor leadership for a long, long time. So they were the part of the labor movement that sold out. Kokori, who was in Pengassan and
Frank Kokori.
yes, they were the original people in labor who really shut down the country, and they were arrested and kept in detention. Look, I think Kokori was released after Abacha died. Ask why nobody arrested and detained Oshiomhole. Even small me at that time, I was going in and out of detention, including by DSS. If they detained him, it must have been an arranged detention.
But you get one video when they tear gas ammo under Obasanjo.
And that's why I say organized outrage now. You can arrange police to tear gas you.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
They can arrange police to tear gas you now. But that was under, we are talking about serious fight against military.
So
now.
the one you just said now that is scattering my head
Yes.
now. Because I'm now trying to marry it. Because think
So we have activists for a reason.
activists
for a season.
For a season.
Yes.
Activists for a reason and activists for a season.
You mentioned earlier that he was the most prominent. He wasn't. The most prominent labor leader in Nigeria is Pa Imodu.
Michael Imodu.
And he was one of the people first in Nigeria's history to be restricted to a city by the colonial masters. Auchi. The second person to be restricted to a city was Obafemi Awolowo. Lekki. Not this Lekki where you people are. There's still a real Lekki after Dangote refinery. That's where the real Lekki
The Ibeju Lekki
is
area.
not. It's a real Lekki town. Is after Dangote refinery.
Not the first one here.
Not the faces you have here. And then the third person, of course, was myself in 2019 when I was restricted to Abuja for 3 years. So when you are talking about real labor leaders, don't mention Oshiomhole.
What of Joe Ajero?
It is a secret in within our circles that everybody knows Oshiomhole, to be Agaracha labor leader.
What of this Joe Ajero now?
Well, Joe Ajero, as far as I have seen, doesn't seem to have a problem with the government. I think it's the government that even have a problem with his little activism. And I've told him that we need to know
Christ.
who is after who. Because how can you be labor leader in this period and the government is comfortable with you? You understand? You can't even do a strike for more than 1 day. I attended one of their strike. It was supposed to be for 2 days. The middle of the first day, they have disappeared on us. The second day, they didn't even bother to tell us. And so since that time, I have respected myself, So because, anytime when you see activists for Abuja, we get business card, they run.
Activists will get business card.
So just pack it.
So wait, I want to understand something.
Activists will get Abuja will get business
So
card.
what you're trying to tell me now is this Joe Ajero that is shouting, why do you increase fuel price?
You must revert.
He must revert.
Immediately.
Immediately. So it's government that is even telling me, Baba, come. They strike.
Yeah, exactly. No, if they want to strike, it is the government that you will see in their action. Any strike that you do by 12 noon, you're always inside the villa. You understand? It's like, did you even plan to be? Were you in the villa when the strike started? Because the next day they're already in the villa. Look
don't buy
at
tickets.
Yes, I don't understand those kind of strike. In the days of real labor leadership, when labor leaders organized strike that is going to hurt the government, they disappear. They go underground. You can't find them. Yes. You know, in our days, some of the labor leaders that we used to work with, do you know where we used to hold meetings? At Ojuelegba. There's a place called 42nd Avenue. At Ojuelegba. At night, it's a red light district. Now there where they hold meeting because police no fit suspect say we
That
don't
kind of
hold
thing
that
happen
place.
there.
Because at that time they don't already arrest Bear, called them Gani, then they don't raid in chambers, kill they shot one of his guards. So nobody was going to any of those official places to guard. In fact, the day Abacha died, we were in a meeting with a guy called Zikirulai, and Zik is what we call him. And somebody just said, go and listen to VOA or it was VOA or BBC that Abacha has died. We said no. Only to go out and see jubilation. Policemen flinging their beret from that Western Avenue police station. I think it's area A on the street. It's the first time and last time I hugged police from Lagos. Everybody was, and I was asking, but why now they shoot us now? We said, what do we do? But that's another story for another day.
I want to ask. Sorry. I want to ask. This person now organized what's it called? Outrage. This that. Who can you say, or which people can you say in this government? Because let's say in the next elections you come out and you win. Who can you actually work with the people? I mean, you can't avoid them. You can't throw them away. Who can you actually, or which people can you actually say, okay, I can work with this person. I can work with this one. Oh, this one is nice.
Very dark man is organizing this thing.
No, you see, it is not as simple as that. The people that you can work with are there. And a lot of them are underground as well. There are a lot of young people in this country who are conscious, by the way. But the prevailing circumstances is such that a lot of people cannot even come out and function. There are people in the diaspora who you can work with. If this country starts to function just a little bit, just like Ghana, a lot of people will return back home. All this one where
I agree.
They don't already jackpot, they go jackpot because even jackpot itself is trauma that people had not anticipated. A lot of people who left this country didn't know what they were going for. Now they have reached that destination. It's not the destination. Nigeria is the only place, being abroad is not edifying. You are just a glorified stranger.
But the rather still be there than still.
Yes, but you prefer to be there because at least it gives you a sense of dignity as a human being that your country has robbed you of.
Yes.
The fact that you can walk out of your house, go on the streets, you can buy a car, you can own a house. But the question when you start growing up there is, do you really own the house? Do you own the car? Is this where I want to be? Especially when weather is not favorable. When you have that winter depression, where you start to ask, my mama, make I come back, or understand that. So there's a lot of things that goes into that psychological state of mind. So, but the question is, who can I work with? Of course, there are a lot of people we can work with. A lot of people. But should I start naming them?
Just name one or two.
It's not necessary, because I have demonstrated over time that we can find people who have courage and people we can work with. So one of the things I tell people is that if you can find people who can fight for Nigeria, you should be able to find people who can do even less dangerous. It's more dangerous to do what I do now than to govern this country. It's easier to govern Nigeria.
Yes.
Because the president of Nigeria is in London. He's just issuing circulars and sometimes some of them are text message. So you can imagine how easy it is to be in London, flying in a jet that is $150 million, staying in one of the best hotels or houses over there.
Do you have a problem with this government?
I have a problem with anybody, for that matter, who has misgoverned Nigeria. And that's important.
Do you think this government and the leaders of this government have misgoverned Nigeria?
Of course. It's not that I think, I know it.
Do you mean our president and every other person, they've misgoverned the country?
Yes.
And how do you think, why do you think so? What are the things that you can point to that say, okay, now what make me feel say, okay, this person don't misgovern Nigeria and this person don't misgovern Nigeria?
Make we go the road where I take come here to this estate. Just let's start from there.
True that.
Now, you say, if by just the road, because someone will tell you, there are bad roads everywhere.
No, there are no bad roads everywhere. There are a lot of places where there are good roads in the world. So I think part of our problem sometimes is that we always choose the worst things elsewhere to compare what we have
And
here
console
and
ourselves.
console ourselves with it. There are no bad roads everywhere. You can have percentages of bad roads in some places because some of us have been maybe, I won't say lucky, but we are exposed enough to have seen. I've been to 30 countries around the world, and I've been as far as Australia and as close as Ghana. So people cannot just make a blanket statement that there are bad roads everywhere, there are bad schools everywhere. No, in those 30 countries that I've been to, I've seen some of them are like small countries like Barbados, in the Caribbean, where there are good schools, and the entire length of this place is 26 miles square. That means if you are driving from here to Shagamu, you're already covered.
They don't cover the full
Barbados.
country.
They don't have oil. Their water is made from desalinization. They take salt out of seawater. They provide it. The electricity is made simply by also using seawater. So why should we say that there are bad roads everywhere when you go to Ondo State I'm just using one example, between Ore and Akure, the road has been awarded 20 times for dualization, and somebody chopped the money, and you are saying there are bad roads somewhere, everywhere. We can't be saying that now. We have to be fair to ourselves too. That we must demand from these people, the people who have governed Nigeria, that they owe us a responsibility to account for everything that they are paid for and that they have been entrusted.
And they've also promised.
The promises may not even be something you can hold them. The truth is that who makes promises anymore? If you go and ask Tinubu now that he promised you something, he can completely deny that he never promised, because he never went to any debate. He did not do any interviews. Not even with his own TV station did he interview with during the election.
Which is his TV station?
TVC. Yes, owner of TVC. So he didn't interview with The Nation, which is his newspaper. So where would you get the promise from, apart from what APC told you they will do? You can tell you already somebody who is denying that, somebody who is saying that the last government is bad, as if he didn't know he was not part of the government. You are the national leader of APC under Buhari. You people are the ones who were enjoying the government. You are the ones nominating ministers, special assistants, and collecting contracts. Suddenly, you are telling us that you are not part of that government. So
there are people. Do you have any sort of relationship with him, the president?
No, because it is part of what I'm saying. That
no relationship whatsoever.
None. If you have a relationship with them, they don't even have to tell people. One of their assistants will put it out. Say, which can she will be that? Common text message where Idris Abdul Karim sent to Koyamo. Release them. Just WhatsApp messages where people they take play. Yeah, they go release them now. Say, which can she will be that we don't see them for our area before now.
That's we just come.
So I've only met Tinubu twice in my life. First in 1999. When he came from abroad after the whole military rule and he was running I met him on the street somewhere. I don't want to describe his state. I've said it. It's not necessary on this show. And then the second time was during the Presidential Peace Committee that we had in 2023, where he sat next to me.
I
then he was.
I saw the video.
He was struggling to have my program with him. And I said to him, because when he came in, he said, President Shiwore. I was like,
he called you a president.
Yes, now no, they don't have problem with that. He's what the Yoruba say, they just look at you like these crazy people. Let's call them whatever they want them to call them. And then
President
he
Shiwore
stretched his hand, not his right hand, but his left hand to shake hand with me. So I quickly, just because if it was photographed, they can say that maybe we are in some kind of secret call together. And it might even make this assertion to be more, legit. Don't you see that they shook hands?
They get
some kind of way.
Yeah, they will say they'll be Ogboni now. You understand? So get where did they meet? So I quickly removed my hand. So he was...
You don't shake him?
No, he shook me, but I also shook him with my left hand and removed it. I think... And I've been told that his right hand is bad. Yes. I'm not a doctor, but I think he's struggling with the right hand. So his first attitude is to protect that. And you notice that when they're shaking the right hand, most people will use 2 hands. They hold it first and shake it.
Okay.
It's AIDS. They do that a lot. So, and then I started focusing on the program. And then I started looking at my program. And then next I see he was struggling with me to read my program. So I said to him, so you have your own program. Now because he has 2 programs, one on the right. And he just said in Yoruba, now. So I left the program for him. Because in my mind, I'm thinking this guy wants to prove that I'm close to him. And like cameras going off
All
everywhere.
over.
Interestingly, nobody then showed the point where I was talking to him. The only part of the program I saw was where, in fact, one guy went and made a whole show about it that, I was talking to him and all that. Then the chairman of their party, Ganduche, kept him busy. I think they were afraid that he might fall asleep. So he just kept talking to him and talking to him. And he too kept talking throughout the event. I remember specifically when Buhari was reading his, and he was making fun of Buhari. Look at this one. He wants to use currency to solve Nigeria corruption problem. He was just like soliloquizing throughout the time. And at the point, even Ganduche was like, calm down, because people could hear him just mocking Buhari, and I was sitting next to him. I was between him and Peter Obi. So I just focused throughout because in my mind, I think he was trying to create a scenario where it will be believable that somehow
You guys
I
are
know
cheese
him.
pals like that.
And I've never
so
met him
political.
more than those 2 times in my life.
Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah, Tony, you wanted to ask a question.
yes, sir. So you've run for presidency twice now, and you've been fighting for major political reform, right? So what do you see actually as the major obstacle preventing you from reaching the systemic
The goal.
change that you envision for Nigeria?
I do believe that there is nothing that is right in the country that could make it possible for a just and fair situation to arise in this country. It's not just about me alone. Because we've reached a level that even if tomorrow everybody decide to vote for me in this country, somebody will rewrite the result to favor the person who may not even have participated in the election.
Wow.
And they will announce it and damn the consequences.
And nothing will happen.
And they know that nothing will happen. They, of course, will tell you, go to court. But
That people
don't
are
forget, they are the ones who just appointed 11
Chief
justices into the Supreme Court. In the US, if a single judge of the Supreme Court is to be appointed, the whole country will shut down. Everybody will be asked, are you his classmates? There will be hearings upon here. Here, I don't even think if I ask you, you know the names of the 11 judges that were nominated by Tinubu into the Supreme Court. You might know that of the Court of Appeal because it's Wike's wife was one of them. So that one was
And
one.
the lady too.
Yes,
That-
it was Wicked wife that put those ones in trouble. That's how we got to know who they are. But that's the kind of country you are in. It is the reason why in 2019 I then came to a conclusion that we must have a hard conversation about how to make the next move. And I seriously believe that only a revolution can bring about that order that we give life to the good people of this country.
I was coming to that place to ask you,
I
why do
know.
you think revolution?
Because in every circumstance where revolution has happened in the world, all the objective conditions that are here were present. The only thing that is the ingredient we haven't added to it, the Maggi that we have not added, is a conscious populace.
For revolution, when you maku, people will die. When you
No,
maku-
it's not. See, let me tell you.
Because the kind of
The day-
revolution that I'm
on October 1, we had the protest. We're supposed to be a nationwide protest. The police were afraid to kill people because they killed in August.
Hi.
Yes, a lot of people. But do you know the number of people that died in a boat capsize in Niger? 160. So is it revolution that killed them? But it's the condition of their country that led to that,
Them to that
to that situation. Because if Nigeria were to be functioning, it's preventable death. I'm not saying that people will not die, even if the country is the best. I mean, Florida just went through a major flood.
and they're still going.
Yeah,
People
sorry.
died
Yeah,
there.
they just went
But
through
the reason why you are not panicking about it is because they have a government that at least will bring
Works.
helicopters, will bring rafters and rescue people. I'm sure that they're even rescuing cats now.
Yeah.
So that's how important the life of a cat is to them than our life is important to our government.
Chai.
So you could be in any situation and die. Anything can kill you. in this country. A whole luxurious bus can fly into the river. Nobody is even making any attempt to rescue them. So it is not the fear of death. It's not the reason why we should not advance a different political
So
agenda.
as you do now, you know they fear death.
Well, it is not something I argue anymore because I never knew, and I'm sure you hear this from a lot of people, that I will live to become 50. I never thought I would live to become 30 years old. Yes. When I was living in the University of Lagos, death was hanging all over me. Because I wasn't only after the military, it got to a point we also had to fight internally against cultism
yeah.
on campus. And I was attacked by cult gangs on campus. So, when you open the face of different, enemies, around you. So, but I have lived a life in which I don't even watch my back anymore because it's no longer necessary. I can't protect myself. And I do not believe that anybody can protect
Are you not also worried for your family if you're not protecting yourself? How about your family? Because if they don't feel reach you for here, they go feel see reach your family there.
No, but you can reach my family, but those ones at least have a general belief that they can be protected by their own
Government
leaders, their own country. But let's also be very global in our thinking that the struggle for liberation, when it gets to a point, can reach you anywhere. I wanted to mention earlier that when I met Nnamdi Kanu in 2019, he said to me, "Are you going to Nigeria?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you mad? I just left Nigeria. They came to kill me in my house. They killed 28 people."
Wow.
And I remember telling him, I said, "If you are still doing this Biafran thing, you are not safe anywhere. Because there's a global interest to keep Nigeria the way it is." So that,
Global interest.
oil can keep flowing in direction of multinationals. There are people whose interest is to make sure Nigeria doesn't progress so that the black man will not find his feet globally. So anybody who is also fighting them here, you are fighting that global economic interest. And that is what was clear to us during Ken Saro-Wiwa's death. The world could have saved Ken Saro-Wiwa. Even Mandela refused to make the call to Abacha. Or he said he called Abacha, Abacha didn't pick. All of them could have made that call and said, "Look, if you touch this guy, we are going to give you hell." But because, Ken Saro-Wiwa went and pressed the red button, which is oil. Do you know why? Ogoni land has over 62 billion cubic feet of gas.
62 billion.
This is not even oil.
Gas.
Because what most people don't understand is that oil is going out of business. But gas is going to be around for a long time.
Yes.
So that is what they're interested in protecting. And the guy who started saying, "We own the thing," I was like, "What's your problem now, guy, man?" And they finished him. Global conspiracy. It's the same thing they did to Kanu now. How do you think that Kanu was kidnapped in Kenya and brought to Nigeria and there's no manifest of the plane that brought him to today? Even judges cannot ask for it. How did he get to Nigeria from Kenya? Who was the person who abducted him from the underground garage? Who was he expecting that made him to drive privately to that place and got kidnapped? Who are the people that kidnapped him? Because the Kenyan government came to court and said, "We're not aware. We don't know who did this." You cannot. Is it possible to fly a plane, a private jet, out of an airport without two governments getting involved? How can it be more secretive? It's because there are global conspiracies involved too. And it was as if I was being prophetic. The day he was brought back, I was at the Federal High Court. No, it was Court of Appeal, and they said Kanu has just been brought back to Nigeria. I said, "How?" They put a hood over his head, even in court. I ran down there. Before I got there, they had already arranged some kangaroo, with the judge. The judge said, "Go and detain him." And that's been his situation since then. So I'm saying that we are also conscious at our level that we are not also dealing with local interests. And I think my family understands that. Because don't forget, my younger brother was also killed a few years ago on his way from school in, close to Benin City. My direct younger brother. And see, today, the police did not disclose to us who did it. Even initially, they said it was Fulani herdsmen. They sent us some pictures of people they claim were Fulani herdsmen. But my younger brother was killed at a police checkpoint that they claim had been vacated by the police. So yes, it's heavy.
Global conspiracy to keep
Of
Nigeria
course,
where it
it
is.
is. Yes,
You-
anybody who is doing this who doesn't understand that is not ready for a Nigeria of the future.
But people would say the definition, except you have another definition of your own revolution. But the main definition of revolution is forceful, takeover. And like Nedu said, bloodshed and stuff like that. How do you intend to make this work without also endangering the...
No,
Yeah, because Nigerians are scared. The truth is, Nigerians are scared to
they are
die.
fearful people. Yes, I understand, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can, under any circumstance, get total liberation without a fight.
Yes.
Because even protests, they shoot at people.
On top of.
So, but what makes a revolution sweet is that it's the numbers you introduce into it. If a number of people, huge number of people, can convince themselves that it's time to move and they move together, you have limited casualty. You have limited casualty because the people who want to kill you will be outnumbered. That's why revolutions are very popular and sweet. But to say that somehow I can guarantee you that the day after we will not count
Numbers.
some casualties, including some of ourselves.
Do you think we'll ever get there where we'll say all of us will revolt?
Yes,
You think we'll ever get there?
I believe so. And I just hope that when we get there, it will be done by reasonable people.
The question I also want to ask you is, this one that you just said, you just hope that it will be done by reasonable people, which means it can be hijacked and turned into
It's
something
not
else.
hijacked. It just means that,
People who have the interest.
people, it's like you have people who still speak English and grammar now who are leading some of these movements. It could get to a point where it could just be like people are tired of even the grammar speaking.
Will no one hear anything?
They just want to shut down everything. And it's exactly what Ken Saro-Wiwa was saying when his last statement at the tribunal that Abacha set up to kill him, that he will be the last person to use non-violence to solve Niger Delta problem. Like a few years later, you saw what happened.
Another question I want to ask is,
You saw armed struggle, full scale in Niger Delta region. And Niger Delta region has not recovered from that to today. Had they listened to Ken Saro-Wiwa and started addressing the issues of environmental degradation, economic justice in the Niger Delta region, as far back as 1995, we wouldn't have had an Asari Dokubo, a Boy Loaf, and the rest of the guys who went and started the next phase of the struggle in Kayama.
now the question I want to ask is, if I be you, I probably would think this way, because the people you're fighting for, I've asked you this question if you regret it. Another side of the question is, do you think if Nigerians were thinking differently, if then they say, okay, we go stand behind this person, say things for they different? Because I remember during the election, now only one person, now I know, with the shout, if I go vote anybody, it was Daddy Freeze. So I know only show where. If not get sense, do you think Nigerians really know what they want?
Well,
or we are just moving by?
Yeah. What I would tell you is this: the situation of Nigeria today was properly planned.
Oh wow!
Yes, when they started defunding education in the 70s, and then removing free education, healthcare, they were planning for the citizens that you have today. Yes, because the easiest people to lead are ignorant people. And you will find out that the last set of people who can still stand up in Nigeria today and speak with dignity are some of the people who had free education, and some of them who went abroad to go to school, funded by the Nigerian people. And some of them, regardless of what happened, they will never leave this country. So we have to be careful not to also be too hard on the victims. Because all these people you are talking about, the people who hate you and I for speaking truth, they are the victims of the Nigeria that has been programmed to fail over time. So when they were doing structural adjustment program, and that's why I was telling you about the global conspiracy against them, they knew that it will produce this kind of country. Now they know that this economic system will be broken. When they are saying don't fund electricity, they know that Kaduna textile will collapse because they can't afford. It is easier for you to buy Ankara from China today.
Yes.
And very soon, Gary, It's cheaper.
Very soon, Gary.
Yes, Ghana. I mean, China is actually have taken the Gary
Cassava.
technology to China, and they're going to be importing Gary here if they have not started
Wow.
it already.
Hey.
But if that one is too far from you, what about the cashew that they are reprocessing in Ghana, in China that you are buying in your supermarkets now? Cashew,
At
yes.
Uturu, there's a large
Yes.
cashew up to now.
Yes, yes.
There's cashew plantation.
All
Uturu
the-
is cashew.
All the timbers that are leaving Calabar, they are going to China to be processed and sold back to you, or Turkey, and sold back to you as bulletproof wooden doors. So, if the moment you don't have that capacity to process your raw materials, you have lost out. And that is what they were doing with structural adjustment program that people didn't pay attention to in those days. So, Nigeria did not happen to the victims you are looking at overnight. And then when they came with the distractions, and entertainment was supposed to not be a distraction. But when it got here,
It became a distraction.
I was in the US when they were doing Big Brother USA. And some 20 years later, I came back to Nigeria and they are still doing it. The people who started it in the USA have forgotten that they even did any show like that. And I was like, wow, what a fundamental distraction a society could get. But don't also forget that education doesn't come from classroom alone. Sometimes it comes from suffering. Yes.
Education doesn't come from classroom.
Classroom
Yes,
Sometimes
yes.
it comes from suffering.
Yes. So a lot of people have also become very conscious as a result of their very horrible experiences in the hands of Nigeria. The way you put it is people that Nigeria has happened to. And that is the pool that I said could surprise you.
When you were
Baba, no vex. May I ask this question?
Yes.
No vex.
Nana Igbo own, I want ask.
Before the go on.
Yes.
Just listening to you speak about the current state of the country and some of your experiences from the past, it is clear that when we attempt to find solutions to the problems of Nigeria, sometimes we look at it and say, is it that these people don't have sense, or I am the only sensible one? I'll state two examples. You mentioned that the first time you were beaten by the police was in 1992.
Yes.
And nearly 20 or almost 20 years after,
2021.
somebody just called their boss.
Yes.
She already there, and
They
then
broke your nose.
descended
Yes.
on you.
Yes.
Now, in 2020, Nigerians came out in their numbers to ask for that rogue unit of the police force to be disbanded.
Yeah. Yes.
And call for improvement in the welfare of police officers.
Yes.
These same
Police
people that Nigerians were fighting for are the same people who turned against Nigerians.
Yes.
Some of them, not be
Some
all.
of them.
Because some go tell you, say, this one I do not the truth, but we not fit talk am. And you mentioned another example of when Abacha died.
Yes.
And it was the first and last
Throwing
time that you
their
hung the
cabs.
police
Policeman.
officer.
By accident too.
By accident. So them too, they rejoiced that time, then
Yes.
they happy.
Oh, yes.
But when he reached to say, these same people, when we they fight against, when be the oppressors, now them then still they use.
Yes.
How does that even make any sense?
It does, so it will make sense because it's foundational. Nigeria's problem is foundational to a large extent. So Nigeria has two major problems. One is foundational and the other one is institutional. But the foundational started first. You must look at what is the foundation of the Nigerian police. It was founded to protect the business called Nigeria.
Not the people.
Not the
Yes,
people.
by the colonial
In fact,
overlords.
the Nigeria police used to be called Kasina Askari. So
Yeah, Askari.
they are transformed to different. At the time, it was for a regional police. So they are transformed from time to time. But just look at why they were created. They were not created to protect the people. They were created to protect their oppressors. And it started with the white colonialists. So there was never a time the police looked back and said, now people where we there for. And the people who are now programming them to do what they do, you see their curriculum, the way they train them, now still to be wicked. And to be more wicked, they will put them for barracks where human beings no fit stay for. That's how you dehumanize. That's how you do what I call animalize people.
You break them, break their
You make
spirits.
people just behave like animals by putting them in situations that animals even cannot be in. So it's one of the things I used to tell people when they say, oh, Nnamdi Kanu, there are some people who have grudge against Nnamdi Kanu. They say he calls Nigeria a zoo. I said to them, I said, zoo that I've been to is better than Nigeria.
Hey.
I'm serious. I've been to zoos before that the animals have doctors. They take nap. They serve siesta, monkeys. They'll carry them and go. And then they'll bring them. When they have children, or they have their offspring, they'll take care of them. They will even announce it on TV. Say, this animal is just born. And celebrate for us. Say, just born, because it never born in the last 3 years. That's how zoos, animals in the zoo are treated. which Nigeria where you see where their leaders they treat animals
500
for
naira.
modern day zoo, so not be the zoo where they for Ibadan. And I make the lions they chop the people where be zookeepers
They
these
take care
days because even those ones they don't be inside revolutionary mode.
Our own for Nigeria.
Yes.
Now lion the thief money.
Yes.
Now snake the
So-
thief money.
So, but that's what you must understand, that there's a fundamental problem with
Yeah.
how the police was set up, and is the reason we say until we have that sudden change,
Yeah.
and to wake up in a Nigeria where people understand that police is a department for law enforcement and law and order. It's not a force that should force people to do what they should not do or make people become, disillusioned about having a police. The attitude of a Nigerian towards the police, the moment you're approaching police, is you start to panic.
Yeah, fidgeting.
Yes,
But
so-
if a police approaches you in a decent society, you feel good. Even when they give you a ticket,
You see the way they
feel
approach
protected,
me.
eh?
Yes, sir. We're arresting you, sir.
they will
Please.
still say, "Sir, have a nice day." After they have given you a ticket that is
Ah, what
$100.
anyway?
You know,
For me tickets.
the police is giving me a ticket before, and after he gave me a ticket, I said, "Please, I've missed my way." He described the road for me. Even a police for Nigeria said, "They ask me road."
We follow you. You go give us 350.
Okay, maybe we'll go back like this. You understand? So
Gosh.
it's crazy how these things have been programmed and we are talking about police. It's not only police. You understand? And that is why the police as an organization or as officers can't process when you say, "Oh, pay them salaries." Because which police they rely on salary?
Second question for me before I yield the mic.
Yeah.
So if we look at the political class and those who say we want to effect change, it would appear like, you have mentioned global conspiracies. Thinking about it now, it would appear like some of us, they expect too much from people who know what thing they do.
Yes.
And that is why it is easy
With
that
their
this person is a member of this political party in the morning, and by afternoon,
It don't
the
change.
person
Yeah.
don't become another party. Then for evening, they will accuse the person of anti-party.
Yes.
Now, those who want to effect change in Nigeria, it would also appear like maybe they don't trust each other or they are not working in unison. And the reason I would say this is because in 2019,
Yes.
yourself, Kingsley Moghalu, Obi Ezekwesili, and so many other Nigerians were of the opinion that we need to leave these two major political parties
Yes.
and go for a new one. But it be like say una do meeting tire. One person no one agree for the other person.
Even now, Seth.
Let me answer
Peter
that.
Obi and you. Now, be like saying that the same thing that they
Make
do.
I answer
Why
that.
una not join together?
Together.
I
Now
will
it's not everyone
come to
ask
that because I know this question will come up.
Thank you.
See, I think one of my biggest faults in Nigeria is that I'm way ahead of my time. Yes. And I'm not saying it to brag. That's what I've discovered. See, in 2019, all those young people that you saw who were saying that they want to they were all working for the same master. And when I saw through it,
wow.
I didn't waste my time. I only attended one of their meetings because there are some of us that have an antenna that is called rubbish detector. The moment we see them like this, we smell them. We just tell ourselves because they don't betray us tire for university over and over. And the reason why I say this is go and ask yourself, those people, where them day today? Where's Fela Dorotoye, APC? He's a special assistant to advisor to Tinubu. They don't appoint you as a special advisor overnight. You don't get what they do for them.
When they special.
With the special. Sure, you understand? So you go count all the people.
Kingsley Moghalu and the rest.
Kingsley Moghalu is the only one that is left out there. But Kingsley Moghalu made it very clear at our meetings that him, get problem with the old order too much because this old order, we then tell them say they don't want too much radicalism for now. Now I make them go greet Babangida for house. I be the only candidate. There's also a friend of mine from who is also serving in the Tinubu, Tope Fashwa. We're all in that group now. Kingsley Moghalu, I'm the only candidate. We no enter any palace. I know they enter palace. I go some palaces, but on the ground say they go agree. Say I know they prostrate. The reason be say if I see Oba they prostrate for governor, I know if prostrate for
For you
her.
again.
If I see Oba where they prostrate for pastor, I know if prostrate for her. So that confusion, I don't get confusion about where I stand. And I don't think that an Oba needs me to dirty my clothes before he will know
show
say I
reverence.
respect him. You understand? All those reverends, we don't pass that stage. Where somebody will sit down on top throne, they thought say you must come and kneel down for him.
But in
Yes,
they need that for
In the
governor.
they need down for, and you get person where they need down for. We not even reach you in terms of integrity. So, and a part of the problem where we must solve with that, because part of the problem is that we too they over respect people we not even supposed to respect.
When you where you supposed to tell them say guy, you
Yes,
not
they
go
will say,
fit.
they be elders. Don't talk to them like that. But the truth be say, for person to be elder, you must earn it, not be by old age. You go and get what you don't do for society before they give you the title of elder.
Elder.
That is what our culture says. You know, fit they kidnap children, make you come graduate to be elder. You know, fit be thief for any village. When village still be village, make they come call you elder. Now people wey dey responsible, now they call elder. That's why Yoruba they talk say elders no fit dey town, make pikin head fall for one side.
Yes.
But the elders wey dey this country now,
And
wey
then
they
go
snap
bend down.
children neck. Now you can't tell me say they be elders. No, that's the truth. And sometimes people will say, sure, respect elders. I respect elders. Only say you get specific elders where I respect.
Specification.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, I
specs.
get my specs of elders. People like Shoyinka now, I respect them. But Shoyinka no go actually say make you prostrate for him. You don't need them. Because he doesn't need you to prostrate to be called Shoyinka. Anytime when you see elders where they look for respect everywhere, under cooking pot, under carpet, make you know say get insecurity where they worry am.
So why are you not?
So, and I wanted to come to,
that
so
Peter
you
Obi
seen
on.
that 2019. Yeah. Peter will be on. And be say, me, I get issue with anybody we don't govern this country. At any, whether you be local government or state or you be national, we no fit show me what you do. Make you listen,
Okay.
because most of them no say, I know Peter Obi. I know Peter Obi since when he become governor for Anambra State. In fact, I be one of the people where they support Peter Obi that time when he be governor. So when Obasanjo want to take Andy back, come on time. Now we they report all the judgments, mago where they do. We keep Peter Obi in power. But when Peter Obi finish for Anambra State, one question where I ask, we say, you will be Peter Obi, you fit send your child go any university where you build for there, no answer. You yourself, you enter any hospital for Anambra that you have governed for 8 years. Where if you get headache, make you treat yourself for that. No. And the Nigerians will talk, say, Peter Obi, I said, na packaging. Nobody knows sabi to package things. I ask people, say, you feel pack your load now. Say, my next vacation, na Anambra, I won't go spend them. Nobody feel answer me. Because for me, governance not be something where you go talk, say, lesser evil. There's no lesser evil in my books. If you are evil, you are evil. If you are good, you are good. But I am not interfering with people who have emotional attachments to people. Some people, if you talk, say, like a friend of mine said, I don't care whether Peter Obi is good or is the son of the Igbos. No, he's not. I was younger than him. The SDP guy is 50 years, even younger than me in the last election. It's the turn of the Igbos. Now I tell the guy, say, who tell you say I not be Igbo? Yes.
Are you Igbo?
You don't know exactly. Because even South Africa is what they call Bantus. Not be Igbos then be. Now from here, where they go in the Benue Trough.
Yes.
Go there.
Yes.
So if you never do DNA test, you know if you know who be Igbo. Some Americans they now when they do DNA test, they discover say they're Igbo. Are you more Igbo than them?
Some Jamaicans, mostly Jamaicans also.
But that's on a less serious note. So I have a general disdain for non-performance.
But what did he do that you can say, now this thing with Peter Obi they do? Because you mentioned that you said he's been packaged. So are you telling us that all
He
those things
saved money when he was leaving the office. There was money.
So where the money was saved? Which bank in there?
He said he was
He
in the
called
bank.
the bank
He
people.
said he was in the bank.
Fidelity Bank.
So you they accept if another person tell you that kind of story, say he said it's in the
So are
bank.
you saying he's lying?
The person will take over from Obiano, talks in a lie, the video day. Say they don't save any money. In fact, say them owe money. That the money that they claim to save, they don't already owe them to contractors. This one day, now go cover them up because una like una candidates.
No.
No, I'm telling you now, this one is public information now. They do not be for Wazobia where I know you.
Yes.
Yes, now. Husband material. Not be for Wazobia.
Yes.
The time where we did interview for
Yes.
2019, Peter will be there outside that time.
No, you know.
That's why they ask questions that time now. So why una no come ask question for 2023? If una carry me that time for Wazobia, now go ask, even get this man,
Nkubi.
Nkubi. Nkubi will come climb one place, begin wire me questions. But the truth is that we must all agree that in an attempt to look for solution, we had become so disillusioned that any iota of solution that presents itself to us is acceptable.
But you no go blame us because when person don't suffer too
so,
much.
but if I don't come join you now, yes, if I don't come join you now, you can't hold it against me. Because of all the people we don't contest for this election in 2019 and 2023, I dare among the people we know everybody pass. I'm part of every government in the last 7 to 8 leaders in this country.
But
I mean, enforcing them to do what is right, starting from Babangida, make it a listener, followed by Shonekon, who spent 84 days in power. Now we drive and come out. Followed by Abacha, who then died. Followed by Abdul Salam, yes, the one we did there now, who I challenged during the last peace. Where I tell him, say, make you go find somewhere, sit down. If to say now no annul 1993 June 12th election, we for no they do peace committee in 2023 or whatever time you started. Followed by Obasanjo, who we fought when he wanted to do third term. Yes,
I remember.
Obasanjo come bring Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua had died 5 months before he was declared dead. He was brain dead for 5 months in this country. Now we fight the battle to show say Yar'Adua and they come back. Followed by Jonathan from the Niger Delta region for the first time in the history of this country, and then followed by Buhari, who had been president before. So now we are back to LO TUN. So if I tell you that I know all these people, and they also know that I know them, and I tell you that this is what they are capable of doing, and you refuse to listen to me, and I stick with my own position, and you stick with your own position, there's nothing wrong with that.
But why you not join hand take form Votron with Peter Obi?
There's no Votron to be formed now. If I join Peter Obi, I will be going against what I have always stood for, which is that I would never support a Nigerian leader who has been president, governor, chairman, local government councillor before, who I consider non-performing. It's the same reason I would never have joined hands with Atiku. And the Peter Obi you are talking about was vice president to Atiku when I was a presidential candidate in 2019.
Yes.
So what are we talking about? Before you discovered Peter Obi, I was already running for president. And now because I look small.
Okay. So what specific policies will you introduce when it comes to the structural problem of Nigeria in terms of governance and economics? Yeah.
So I have stated that the way I would tackle Nigeria's problem is to look at the foundational one. And the most superficial thing is to bring everybody together who are living. It doesn't matter whether you are in the southeast, to create a country that is just, fair, and equitable for everybody. And I said, I'll go to the east first and apologize to the people. But it's beyond that. It also has to do with our constitution. I said it that I would never have operated with Nigerian constitution that we have now.
Yeah.
Because it was created for the military and by the military. It's not a constitution for the Nigerian people. Every constitution has a preamble that says, we the people. This one, there was nobody there. Except the man who typed it and photocopied it and gave it to us. Those are foundational problems that you bring about by getting people to create a new constitution. And they can now design their own article of unity and relationship through that constitution. That's what constitutions are about, whether they are written or unwritten. And the institutional part, I have broken down into about 10 places, which has to do with security, power. Because anybody that is deceiving you, that Nigeria will make it without electricity, you should ask the person to go and shut up. It's our number one institutional problem that must be fixed. If we want to compete in the world, we must get rid of darkness. Because electricity is not about darkness alone. It is also the fulcrum of technology today.
True.
So if you cannot power the devices that is driving the world, you are not ready. You are not part of the global community. You can't produce if you don't have electricity. And if you have electricity, you will improve security. And then, so there are 10 of those things, infrastructure, we have healthcare, we've discussed agriculture, but I'm not talking about agriculture of,
subsistence farming.
Yeah, subsistence, sharpening knife with knife. or with stone. No, we've reached a level where the governors who are driving SUVs will tell them to reduce it to 1 and buy tractors instead that can be, plowing everywhere and then add value to it. And then infrastructure we bring to it, we get it to where it needs to be and know how to add value. The thing that's most painful to me, I should say, is that governance is not rocket science at all. In fact, what they are doing in government in Nigeria today as a whole, that is costing us an arm and a leg, is what some people can do on their handheld devices.
I want to ask.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Peter.
Mhm.
Yeah, you said, can somebody actually go to Anambra and take a vacation? But
Maybe you go
Lagos,
to Okija Shrine.
but Lagos
Those
here, right?
Mm.
Lagos here. People come when you mention Nigeria. The first one, when you're abroad and you mention Nigeria, the first place they say is Lagos.
Are you in
'Cause,
Lagos?
yes,
Lagos.
because that's where they feel like is the city, like where people come and take
Lagos,
vacation.
Nigeria.
And it is said that the present president is the person that
built
built
Lagos.
Lagos. So are you saying that the president is better than Peter Obi?
No, I don't think you follow me. I don't rate Lagos because this Lagos that you are in today, especially this part where you are staying, if you are not a scuba diver, or you should train to become one, especially those of you who are happy to live in Lekki, you are going to go underwater very soon. That is Lagos they built. So I am not one of the people who believe that Lagos would have been Lagos even if it didn't have government, because it was already notorious for being Lagos. It's a historical city. There are historical cities. There are places in the world you go to that you just go because it's a historical space.
Yeah.
If Lagos was built or rebuilt, this is not the Lagos we have. This is the place I call a deodorized city.
How do you mean?
Deodorant.
How do you mean?
When something they smell, you can't put deodorant. When you no go bath first.
Then it makes it bad.
Yeah, so it will be smelling. The old dog would fight the deodorant. So that's what Lagos is. Lagos is a glorified deodorized city. This is not. A Lagos that you cannot go from one part of it to the other is very dirty. It's dingy. It's dark, mostly at night. It has no transportation, no mass transit. It has no drainage. It has no sewage.
Wow.
Do you know what it means for cities to be called cities?
So there's no city in Nigeria.
Well, it's just like asking me if there's a 5-star hotel in Nigeria. Probably none.
They say there's no 4-star safe.
You don't go. You don't.
I know, not mind me. So I want to ask you a question. I agree there's no 5-star. There's rarely 5-star hotel in Nigeria because we've seen 5 stars. So I want to ask you a question, sir. Do you smoke Igbo?
No, I don't.
Why do you want to legalize Igbo?
So again, it is what I was telling you. That's probably my biggest problem in life is that I'm ahead of my time. And I understood even from historical times the role of, we call it Igbo because that's how to demonize it. It's actually the best name to call it is the botanical name cannabis. Yeah,
Cannabis.
That's the coolest name to call it.
Cannabis.
And it has served as.
You will take call let's say they take that.
Yeah, no worry. The thing about me is that if I smoke Igbo, I won't hide it.
Period.
True that.
In fact, if I just smoke Igbo, I'll be carrying the technological one around, the one that you charge. And,
yes, that's the vape one.
And sniff. So, but I don't, and it's because I think my forefathers, maybe they smoke Igbo and may come day high.
I swear.
So, but it is Igbo has historically, cannabis has historically been part of a broad range of medicinal applications.
True. True.
And it's not just medicine. It's, in fact, there's a fable. I'm not sure, maybe this urban legend about why Indians call it Indian hemp. It was that one day they were burning a rope that they use in anchoring their ship, and they all got high. And they tried to find out, where did this rope come from? Turns out it was made of cannabis plant. I bought a t-shirt, and it's the t-shirt that I think lasted the longest I've ever used from California. I was asking a friend of mine, this t-shirt I bought, I want to get it again. He said, do you know that's a cannabis t-shirt?
Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, fídíò náà ni ẹ ti rí yẹn. Ẹ gbọ́ gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tí brọ́dà wa Sowore sọ. Èmi ò fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, ẹ̀yin bàbá mi, ẹ̀yin ìyá mi, ẹ̀yin sísítà mi àti brọ́dà mi tẹ́ wo fídíò yìí náà ni mo fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ dá sí. So ohun tẹ́ ẹ bá sọ èmi náà fẹ́ mú ọgbọ́n mo tún fẹ́ mú òye ń bẹ̀ fún fídíò míì tó tún ń bọ̀. Ẹ bá mi sọ lé gbogbo bá ṣe rí lọ́kàn yín ẹ bá wa sọ lé. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ mi lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí tó bá jẹ́ pé ìgbà àkọ́kọ́ rèé tí ẹ máa bá èmi ọmọ yín àrólé baba 1010 TV yìí tẹ́ ẹ máa bá wa pàdé. Ẹ subscribe sórí YouTube channel yìí torí pé orí YouTube channel yìí náà lẹ ti máa mọ bó ṣe ń lọ lórí Yorùbá Nation káàkiri ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ mi ẹ̀yin ọmọ Yorùbá mo bẹ̀ yín lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ o ẹ jẹ́ ká fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ o nítorí pé àìkọ́wọ́rìn ọmọ ejò olófìyà jọ ọmọ ejò bí ọ̀ka bá ń lọ níwájú tí sèbí tẹ̀lé tọ́jú là ń gbárùrù bọ̀ lẹ́yìn ẹni bá ọlọ́dẹ tó bá máa dúró ó gbọ́ á ti tọ́jú egbé o èyí tí ò bá légbé ó ṣeé ṣe kó gbèkúrú jẹ lọ́wọ́ ìbora o ẹ jájọ kọ́wọ́rìn ẹ jájọ fọwọ́sowọ́pọ̀ ká gbára wa nínú iná ìléèrú Nàìjíríà kí àrọ́mọdọ́mọ wa kí wọ́n lè lómìnira ara tiwọn. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ ẹ bá mi share fídíò yìí kẹ́dẹ̀ bá mi love ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ o ó dàbọ̀ bye bye.